Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on November 17th, 2025 at approximately 8:01 p.m. PST. Now, I've made it my life journey to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I guide virtually every decision I make by. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people with varying degrees of success depending on their own personal efforts. Now, before I get into things today, and we're going to be looking at savings and debt repayment. Take a look at your finances and get them back in order. Now, let's be realistic here. I am not a financial advisor in as much as I have never been to a financial school to learn how to advise. All I've got is the school of hard knocks and some pretty poignant mistakes that I made that took me decades to learn. And I'm hoping to pass these on. Like, my intention is to pass these tools and these tricks and what have you on so you can avoid those kind of complications. But before I get into it, I do want to tip my hat to Storm. He is our primary moderator that sits in the background and makes sure tech runs. He is also the one that makes certain that problem children are ousted before they become problems or distractions. Now, do understand, listed at the top of the screen, at the top of the chat room, is a list of rules. Those same rules scroll across the bottom of the video throughout the entire show. So if you suddenly find yourself outside the stream and not able to communicate, this is because you overstepped one of those boundaries. And understand, this is supposed to be a safe place for virtually everybody. So just because you get ousted once doesn't mean you won't be able to get back. Now, we also have LA Moon in the house. She is our primary moderator inside the chat room. And again, she tends to keep the questions moving if they stall. Or if I run into a snag. She is also the one that keeps a very close eye on my health. And rest assured, that can be a challenge. Now, with that in mind, we have Mike Jones. You are in with the gold. How you doing, Mike? Glad you could join us. And you are followed in by Eternity Eternal, in with the silver. How's it going, Eternity? Really nice to see you making a solid appearance again. I know your life had been a little on the hectic side for a while. And coming in with bronze is Operation Shutdown. And not a problem there at all, Operation. I'm just hoping people are learning from it. We're still seeing it. We were at 700, but that fluctuates. So right now we're sitting at 697. Sooner or later I'll get up to 1,000, but let's face it, I've been here 3 years. I'm not in a hurry. Then we have, in with honorable mention, we have Woo Rider. How you doing, Woo? Glad to see you. And let's scroll down here and see if we missed anybody. Woo. No, in all fairness, what I did was I dumped the monitor, but my eyesight's coming back, so I can now read on the smaller monitor. Now, who do we got here? Anybody else? Nope, that's where we end. That's who we've got in the house already. We are, 10 minutes and 5 minutes in, and we got 7 in the house. This is actually a nice start. Now, where do we go with this? Well, if you're like most people, you've probably been told, if you ran into financial struggle or if you were looking at things, you were probably told, cut back, cut back, cut back. Now I will tell you this is great, but there comes a point where you can't cut back on your spending anymore. So now you work with what you got. And remember, guys, if you have a question, absolutely pop it into the chat room in all caps so I can find the thing. Okay. Now, you've been told cut back. Well, I'm telling you there's another option. Find another way to either increase your income or turn around, turn around and find a way to handle your finances better, which is why I'm looking at this neat little thing called savings versus debt repayment. Okay, now growing your savings account, absolutely imperative. Okay, but there's a neat little trick to it, and you can start this today. Okay, I used to be a great one for procrastination. Okay, now I just don't bother to do it at all. No, wait a minute, that's not right. Now I look at it going, get started. Take a look where your bank account is. Like my active bank account at the end of October was $347. Not a great balance. Okay, but as long as when I get to the end of November, I am sitting at more than $347 in the account. This means my account is climbing. Now, here's the thing. And this is why I brought this up. So many people get told, absolutely put your savings aside. Well, here's the kicker. Your savings account, in all likelihood, even if you're dealing with mutual funds, okay, the odds are your savings are only earning you anywhere from 1% to 8%. Okay, meaning you put $100 in the bank, and your savings account will climb by $1 in the year. Okay, however, credit cards and loans tend to charge you anywhere from 10% to 30%. Okay, needless to say, when you're building your bank account at your savings, absolutely work at it, as I've just mentioned. But your credit cards, get them paid. Don't just get the minimums paid. If you take the minimum payment, odds are you're going to be paying for decades. Okay, see, always make certain if you're running a balance right now, pay more on your credit card than what you're paying on than what you're spending. This is going to take you time, but the reality is, if it's costing you 20%, really? I'm going to have to hold that thought for just half a second, or I'm going to have a problem. Sorry about that, guys. Well, that was badly timed. My apologies. Vertigo is not something I play with. Not to worry, guys. Anyway, where are we here? The thing with it is, if you've got a balance, you're going to be spending a good 20% probably that you're being added to your bill. Okay, so if you're being charged 20% more and you're only making 8% on a mutual fund, you're still losing money. This is why I say take a look at your bills. Do not worry about, and this is going to sound weird, don't worry about the interest rate. Okay, this is not the thing you got to worry about. The thing you got to worry about is your balances. And the trick is, again, to make certain you're spending less than what you're paying off. Now, if you go to buymeacoffee.com/innervoicej, you can find the link to pick up any one of the self-help books I've got. But the two that are most important in this case are believe in yourself and follow your dreams, and believe in your finances and follow your dreams. These will explain how to take your money and make it work for you, and how to take your energy levels and your basically the way you're living and turn it around. Now, these are written simply, based on what I've gone through myself. Now, understand, I'm 62. So what I'm talking about are things I've already made the mistakes on. If you've got credit cards, leases, loan payments, odds are they are charging you a staggering interest rate, and you're going to be charged more in interest on the loans and on the debts than you are going to be making in a savings account, even mutual funds. Now, I found out a long time ago, if you're making 8% return on a mutual fund, this is great. You can bet your bottom dollar. The company that's doing the investing, you can bet they're making 15 to 20. But that's for them. Let them do what they will. If they're paying you decent, what you consider a decent return, this is great. Unfortunately, the credit cards and the loan companies are going to be charging you more than you're generating on your savings. But again, make sure, and do this tonight. Again, postponing it doesn't work all that well. Okay, what it really does, if you procrastinate, if you wait, all you're doing is permitting the inevitable to happen. Your debt load is going to continue to climb. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not happy with that anymore. Okay, I actually spent all day today going through my finances and those of my wife's to find out where we're standing. Okay, so I now have a solid picture of this is what I owe. Okay, this is just the way it is. Now, with that in mind, a couple other little things I found is I owe people money, absolutely. Okay, and unfortunately, I don't have the money to pay them off, to pay them off all at once. So what I've taken to doing is going, okay, I owe you money. I know this. I know I took the debt on. However, you're not getting it the pace you'd like because I can't give it to you at that pace. So this is what I'm doing. Lay it out bluntly for them. Do not bother with this idea of trying to explain it, of trying to make them happy by paying at the pace they like. Make it happen at the pace you're comfortable with. But, like I said, with my savings account, I've got to have it above 347. In all fairness, I got to have it at 348 or better. I'm just talking hundreds. Like I said, I am no millionaire. I will be one day in all likelihood, although I do have an impediment there. Okay. One of the things with that impediment is, much as I know finances are required, and I encourage you to absolutely learn from the mistakes I made. Okay. Myself, I am now building towards what I consider a decent level. Okay. But I'm doing it way late in the game. Okay. That's just the reality of it. I'm hoping you guys will turn around and learn from what I did incorrectly. Okay, what I did poorly. I mean, let's face it. I went bankrupt twice. I am no business mogul. I just know what I see where things are off kilter. And I'm just blunt enough to tell you. Okay. Now, what do we got? Where are we here? Oh, that's neat. And what I'm looking for, I'm just making sure I haven't missed anything. The reality is, when you start looking at, now, when you look at your money, absolutely, again, I just threw them all out. Again, there are some things about savings. In the grocery store I go to, and it might apply to yours, the grocery store I go to regularly, it tells you at the bottom of the list, at the bottom of your grocery list, here's how much money you saved in coupons and discounts. Okay, when you get home, transfer that money into your savings account. The reason for this is because if you don't and you spend it, you didn't save it. Okay, so that's number one. Okay, the second thing we look at is once you've done that, okay, and your money comes in, you target, like I said, and this is why I suggest the books. I'm going to go through them again. Quite honestly, I'm thinking, yeah, Storm says our financial institution's savings account interest rate is 0.05%. 0.0, and now APY, I'm presuming, is per year, but most of them are like that. It's not great money. Okay. And if you're like my credit cards, I'm paying 22% per year. This doesn't work well if you're trying to build a savings account and ignoring the credit card. Okay. So, what do you think? Now, I've got a book called Believe in Your Finances and Follow Your Dreams. And I'm seriously thinking, I did it before, but I'm seriously thinking I should go through next Monday and handle that one all over again. Because the number of financial advisors I talk to, or people that have talked to financial advisors, that go, oh, you're in financial trouble. How about if we get you to go bankrupt? This has got to be one of the densest ideas in most cases that I found. Now, there are reasons for going bankrupt. Maybe you dug yourself into a pit there's no way out of. But I will tell you, if you handle it properly, and I've walked people through dancing on the edge of bankruptcy to getting back on track. Okay, I am now, even with extremely limited income, my credit cards are all under limit. Okay, so it just boils down to handling them properly. But with that in mind, you target your smallest, monetarily speaking, interest accruing debt first. Okay, and the reason for that is because psychologically it's easier to deal with one big debt than a whole pile of little ones. Oh, yeah. LA goes, yep, we've been paid 10 cents in 10 years. This is not a great return. Okay, you think about it. You got $1,000 credit card and it's charging you 20%. Well, you're being charged $200 in 1 year. And I'm laying odds that ain't quite the way it works. Okay, so what we're looking at is figuring out how to capitalize on your own money. And this is why I decided on Mondays we're dealing with finance. Understand a lot of the things that happen here. I talk about this, I make notes for myself, I adjust things on my end. So I'm still doing the same thing that I'm suggesting you guys do. Okay. Now, nice little, and this is like I'm looking here. We're talking finances, and this gives you an idea of how low on the totem pole that little topic has become. Okay. We had 7 when we first opened up. They realized we were dealing with debt, with savings and what have you. And people are just not that interested in it. So it really boils down to we've been taught, and I mean, when I say we, I mean realistically, across the board, people are taught that you're supposed to live in debt. I got news for you. It's overrated. I like the way a millionaire put it for me once. He goes, he says, I've been miserable rich and I've been miserable poor. He says, hands down, I'd rather be miserable rich. The other one I talked to flat out told me, he says, money will not make you happy, but it will enable you to look for happiness in a lot more places. Okay, what I'm looking at is doing both things at the same time. Build your savings account. At the same time, get your credit cards, get your debts cleared. Okay, and if you've got questions, again, if you go to that link at the top, the Buy Me a Coffee link, you'll find the link to get a hold of me directly. If you can't quite figure out how to reorganize your finances, now I spent a lifetime in debt, and I'm finally on the upswing. You get the choice. You can stay doing things the way you are, see how that works for you. I'm betting if you're still in debt, you're not happy. Okay, but your best option, okay, in my opinion, if you don't know how to handle your finances or how to track them, okay, Donna C, how you doing? Glad you could join us. If you don't know how to track your finances, go to your financial advisor at the bank. Okay, they're paid to help you. This is one of those jobs. Now, when I say go and talk to them, I don't mean get a loan. Okay, or get a loan, little doggy. Okay, what I do mean is talk to them about how to track your finances. Or if you want to talk to me directly, or if you desire to connect with me, there's no problem there. I only charge, in the way of consulting, I charge a staggering amount of $80 an hour. Now, that is probably overpriced for many of your case. Okay, ultimately it boils down to $15 to $20 every 15 minutes. And it doesn't take long to lay it out. Okay, but when we are looking at your debt ratio, okay, the ironic part is the amount of credit you've got available is not the catch. It's the amount you are using when, compared to what you've got available that will matter. In my case, way overloaded. Okay, but I'm now on a direct track to wipe the debt load out. So this is something that's going to happen. Okay, and I've already got marked out where we can actually do this. It'll probably be 5 years or more. Well, it'll be more than that in all likelihood before I get debt free. But as you get this done, the other thing you'll find is by removing the clutter in your house, you're also going to find you feel better, have better energy levels, and subsequently can get control of your life a lot more quickly. Okay, now remember, doesn't matter whether you get control of it to me. I mean, it matters. I hope the best for you. But the reality is, whether you get yours under control or not won't have any functional bearing on whether I get mine under control. Unless your getting into debt is that you sent me a whole pile of money. At which point, thank you very much. I will take that and make sure I land on my feet properly. Okay, the thing with savings accounts is expect them to grow slowly at your own doing, not at the bank's. Okay, the bank's doing it's not going to work well. Now, there is one exception to this. Okay, if you get a loan, okay, and this is a real twisted way of looking at things. If you get a loan, and let's just say, for instance, you get a $1,000 loan. You put the $1,000 in your bank, okay, and you leave it there. Now, they will tell you when you have to start paying. If you don't touch that $1,000 and just leave it there, when you have to start paying, make the payment, like pay the loan off. You've now made interest on their money and didn't pay any interest for the loan. Okay, now whether you can pull that off with your bank or not, I don't know. Okay, but it's one of these neat little things I'm going to be looking into. And you can bet your bottom dollar. The fact I'm telling you this means I'm going to turn around and do it. I'm just looking here. Okay, so the reality is this. Your financial prosperity is literally due to your efforts. You're the one responsible for it. And all the guidance in the world is absolutely useless if you don't pick up if you don't get your tail feathers off the couch and make it happen. Now, I don't know about you, but I figure if you're only making 0.5%, okay, a year, you're not making a lot of interest. Okay. But if you're paying, 20% a year, you're paying a staggering amount. Okay. The other thing to watch for, remember, if you get an interest-free loan, the thing they won't tell you, I mean, they'll tell you in the fine print, it'll tell you point blank, if you don't pay off every nickel of that, every last penny of that loan within the time frame they give you, for instance, 6 years interest-free, this is great. But if you don't pay it off in that 6 years, on day one after the loan matures, they will add all of the interest from the last 6 years onto the end of your account. Now, don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Okay, talk to your bank, to the bank or the loan company or the auto dealer, whoever you're getting that kind of a loan from. Check with them what happens when that special rate gets wiped out. This also applies to such neat little things as, oh, you can get your cable for only $3 a month, for 6 months. Do not forget to ask that important question. What am I paying after that grace period? How much is that bill going to jump? It's up to you to ask the questions. I'm simply doing my best to give you the questions to ask. Okay, and one of the biggest things that we have to realize, what you've been taught. And I don't blame the people that taught you. I mean, technically it's their doing, they did it. The reality is they were taught by other people that were taught the same way as well. What I'm telling you is this. What I went through. Oh, where are we? What do we got here? Don is going, I found out my bank has a charge off. Oh, a charge on old accounts. I have to talk to them this week as it's hurting my credit. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely go in, ask them to explain what it is, and see what they can do about wiping it out. Because unfortunately there, Donna, what I've found with many institutions is they will add these bills in. If you don't question, they're going to keep adding them. Okay? Quite often, once you question, they'll cut it back or they'll alter what they're doing. But if you don't ask, they're going to assume you don't care. So absolutely make it happen. Okay, I actually made an appointment with my bank the other day, a couple of weeks ago. Well, a couple of months back. Made an appointment with them, and then decided that having a blood clot and what have you was a really good idea. Didn't make the appointment. But when you're looking when you look at your credit, remember, the thing that really affects your credit rating is, in all fairness, it's much more an issue of your continuity and the stability that you're making your payments on. Where are we here? And Operation goes, I asked this earlier, not sure if you saw it. Okay, I'm reading it now, Operation. Operation goes, do the off-worlders have poverty in their societies? Absolutely. Now, granted, they've got different ways of dealing with it. Okay, and some are pretty brutal. But as I mentioned before, off-worlders, ancient races, humans, all societies have pretty much the same issues, just different tools and different toys. Now, here's the catch. I know of a few societies where, yes, they've got poverty and they've got starvation. So they cure both problems with the same solution. They eat their poor. Problem solved. The poor people are no longer poor, and the starving people are no longer starving. Okay, it's a brutal way of doing it, but we are talking for the most part. You're looking at a lot of the reptilians do this. Okay, now when we're looking, and this is something I'm glad you brought the off-worlders up. We have finances, and everybody complained, or a lot of people complained, when we went digital. And yet everybody's going, but we want to get off this mud ball. Well, most of the off-worlders have digital money. Okay, only it's equal across the board. There's variations on it, but the reality is they look at man hours as a way of financing. Where it comes to paying your debt, okay, it literally boils down to making certain that you're doing it, paying more than the minimum, if at all possible. If you're not able to pay more than the minimum, what you're looking at is a simple problem. Your bill is going to continue to climb. Okay, now I was lucky with one credit card company I deal with. They phoned me up one day and said, look, you've had this account forever, and it's clearly gotten out of hand. This has got to be a recent problem. So I talked to them, and they turned around and went, okay, we're going to stop you. Like, you can't use the credit card, but for 6 months, we'll stop adding interest. But you got to pay this amount. Well, I did that, and now the credit card is under limit and dropping. Okay, and this is the same thing. I can absolutely guide you through, but the trick is you got to know where you're standing, and you're the one going to have to do the work.
Keith,
Yo,
can I interrupt for a second?
absolutely.
Um, Donna, something that you might want to look into. I don't know where you live, okay, but in the United States, depending on what state you're in, there's a charge off. Now, a charge off a is a charge on an old account. It means the account wasn't fully paid and the bank, quote unquote, wrote it off. However, it does reflect on your credit report. Now, once you find out where it's from, when it's from, and the cause, if it's an unsecured debt and you're in the United States, I don't know how it works in some of the other countries. If it's an unsecured debt, like a credit card or a personal loan that doesn't have property attached to it, and it's been more than X number of years, it depends on the state, it can no longer be collected on. And if it's past that time frame, you can actually petition the credit reporting services to remove it from your file. So go to talk to them about that account, find out all you can about it, where it came from, how long it is, and then go into your do an internet search for the state that you live in the United States, if you're in the U.S. Sorry, to get the statute of limitations for the debt, and then you can get it removed from your credit report, and it can assist your credit rating and allow it to go up. I know because I've done it twice. Somebody tried to hit me with a couple of things, and I went to I said, "Yeah, that was 15 years ago." No, I'm not. That's they can't collect on it anymore. Therefore, take it off my credit report, and they did. So, just a little food for thought for you there.
And I definitely appreciate the input. It brings to mind something else. Now, I'm up in Canada, and hopefully, Donnie, you got all of that. And absolutely, if you didn't, go back and listen to it because, well, we leave it in the archives anyway on YouTube. But in Canada, I had a problem where I paid a debt off completely with a given company. I got a letter from them saying the bill had been paid entirely, but because it had ended up on the credit reporting agency, okay, I ran into a problem. I phoned up the credit reporting agency. I said, look, I've got the hard copy that says the bill's paid off. They refused to remove it. Now, unfortunately, in my case, I had to phone a lawyer and get a lawyer to write them a letter stating either you remove it now or we sue you and get all of it back. Now, for some weird reason, the credit company, the reporting agency, removed it. Again, this is why I say I do not have as much luck as I'd like, but I know what I've been through. So absolutely. And this is why I tell people, deal with the company directly. I've dealt with credit agencies and what have you, like with collection agencies. Okay, you're better off paying, in my opinion, paying the company itself. Contact the original company and go about paying that bill off. Okay, but that's just my way of doing things. And again, I am not, legally speaking, a financial advisor. I never went to school for it. But practically speaking, I got 62 years under my belt of making some pretty disastrous miscalculations. Okay. But when it comes to your savings account and building your savings versus clearing your debt, target the debt, but target the smallest, monetarily speaking, interest accruing debt first. This is the way to get yourself out of debt. Okay. But don't forget, while you're doing that, you still have to pay the minimums on the others. Okay. These are just little techniques to eliminate certain problems. And no, I can't go and get that. Like I said, I do believe that this coming Monday, we're going to deal with that again. Okay. We're just going to be taking a look at Believe in Your Finances. And we're going to go over the actual, over the actual technique used therein. I've done it before, but frankly, I find repeating it helps a great deal. I know repeating things for myself does. What is next Monday? I don't know. I'll look that up later. Okay, later came. That'll be the 24th. The hard part with debt and with savings is you look at the bank and you go, I've only got $3 to my name. Okay, and some of you do. Lord knows that's all I had in the bank for a long time. Okay, so when you're looking at your debt load, understand it gets built by your hand, and there are some creative ways of doing it, but your savings account will not grow as fast as the interest rate that you're paying on your loans grows. It just doesn't work that way. I'd love to say it does. Unfortunately, I'd have to lie. We all know how I feel about lying about things. So when we're looking at that, understand, by getting on top of your credit, of the credit bills, your loans, credit charges, leases, anything that you've got that you're paying interest on, get them off the deck as quick as you can. And yes, I will tell you something that's going to sound really weird. Okay, let's assume you've got 3 or 4 credit cards. Okay, and you've got one, and all of them have money on them, but you've got enough room on one credit card to pay off another. Now, this is going to sound really weird. Okay, and I know there's people that are going to argue the point. Okay, but what I found is this. If you've got 3 credit cards and you can combine those debts, paying one off, and having the debt transferred to another card, I will tell you again, the interest rate is not the thing I look at. Yes, it's something to consider when you're looking at things. But the reality of it is this. If you can put them all on one credit card, psychologically speaking, it is far better to have one bill that's really big than it is to have 15 little bills that are tiny. Okay, and it's just something I found out by dealing with financial clients over the last 50 years. Okay, this is just one of those things that my database is not what I looked up on the internet. It's not some government survey I did that somebody did. This is practical first-hand experience that I've had dealing with other people. Okay, and that's just the reality of it. We even went so far, my wife and I even went so far today, and because, again, the idea of having all these little debts is problematic psychologically. So we went so far as to take a private debt, put it on the credit card because it took the private debt away. Now we've only got the one bill to worry about, and the private social side of it has been eliminated. Okay, one of the things that we have to realize is debt repayment, however deep you are. I'm not, quite honestly, don't worry how you got there. Odds are you really don't have a solid clue as to what went down. Okay, what matters is what you do from here. And that boils down to this: pay off more than you're spending. Okay, amalgamate as many debts as you can. And yes, in all fairness, taking a loan under the right circumstances to pay off credit cards is not a bad move. And thank you very much for that. This is one of the things I find. I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you about credit, about loans and what have you. And I'm sitting here going, I know how deep in debt I am. I know how much money I'm spending on debt. Okay, so tomorrow, and you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to do this. Okay, I shouldn't say tomorrow because I know the way my day goes. In the very near future, I'm going to contact the bank and find out what it would cost to get a loan if I'm eligible for a loan to clear up a few things. If I am, I will take said loan, pay off the smaller debts, and get it all dumped into one. Okay, because the reality is by doing that, I can save a sheep load of money. If I can pull it off. But again, don't take my word for it. Look into it. If you've got a lot of little debts and you can pick up a loan to pay them off, again, the key factor is this: if you're going to do that, you got to break your current spending habits. Whatever you're doing that keeps you in the debt, you got to break it loose. Okay. Now, one of the other things that you got to remember here is all of this information. I can repeat it time and time again. If you don't act on it, if what you're doing isn't working for you, and I hand you this offer, okay, this suggestion, if you do nothing with it and you haven't done it before, then what you're doing is saying, I'm unfortunately comfortable in the mess I'm in. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm no longer comfortable that way. Okay, so I'm going to be looking into that sort of thing very quickly here. Okay, to see what I can get away with. Okay, but it boils down to my going, these are the steps I'm taking. Okay, this is what I'm doing to eliminate my mess. And I'm not that different from you. As I told one person, I was in one creditor I was talking to today, I dug the hole myself with the best of intentions. But you know what they say about the road to hell? Well, this woman looks at me and she goes, no, I really don't. I said, the road to hell is paved by good intentions. No matter how you got into the mess you're in, this is how you get out of it. It is a method I'm using effectively. Okay, and bankruptcy is the last thing I'm going to recommend for you. It is a literal Hail Mary. I can't do it. There's no way to turn it around. I've done everything I can, so I'm stopping it. Okay, and the reality of it is this. And before you ask, number one, the reality is this: you can, using your money, in all probability, build your savings account and reduce your debt load at the same time with your money. Okay, now before somebody asks, yes, absolutely contact me. I'll walk you through how to do it. Okay, but I'm not about to take over your bill payments. I'm not about to take over handling your finances. I will certainly walk you through it. Now, I've had a couple of clients over the years that literally phone me up on a regular basis to talk about where their finances were in order to help them stay on track. Now that I got no problem with. Okay, that part of the consulting I will do quite readily. I just am not going to phone credit companies or collection agencies or anything else for you. I'm simply going to walk you through how to deal with it yourself. Now I will tell you where it comes to the amounts you owe. I came to the conclusion, and this is what I've done with the companies I am talking to clear off. Phoned them up and went, okay, I need to know how much I owe. What's the invoice number? What's the balance? Okay, now before we go any further, understand I desire to pay this bill off. However, I'm not giving you a time frame. I'm not giving you a pay schedule because I can't guarantee it. So you'll get it as I get it, but understand, I desire to be out of debt more than you do. I desire to pay this debt off more than you likely do. So, by taking ownership and being blunt, being direct, you can reclaim power over your life. Okay, and I'm talking about reclaiming it over your life using your money. But again, with your savings account, find out what it's at. Even if you're using just a regular checking account at this point, the same principle applies. You take a look at the balance you currently have and make certain the end of every month you end with at least a penny more in that account than what you had before. Okay, this indicates that your bank account is climbing, not quickly, but this is not a rapid run. This is not a quick fix. This is a way of you getting stable control, maintainable control over your life. Okay, now it doesn't matter what society you go to. Okay, and I mean whether we're talking human, ancient race, alien race, doesn't matter one iota. They all have the same problems. They've got poverty, they've got wealth, they've got people. Thank you so much there, LA. They've got people that look down on the lower class. Absolutely they do. And I tell all of them the same thing. Get over yourself. Okay. The reality of it is this. You desire your life to run smoothly. It's time for you to get off your tail feathers and understand a couple of very important things. If your bank account climbs by even a penny a month, it's getting better. Now, I recommend trying to get more than that. Okay. But understand, the quicker you get the debt load paid off, the faster that money goes. Now, I can help you walk through the idea of how to figure out how much money you have. And yeah, I know I'm not that exciting of a speaker. There are lots of people that you watch the video and you listen to them. They're funnier than all get out. Okay, I'm not. I personally feel I've got the sense of humor of a garden rock. Okay, and rest assured, they seem to have a better one. But where it comes to paying on to building your savings, do it one step at a time. Like I said, the grocery bill, at least the groceries receipt from the grocery store I deal with, tells me how much I saved. Okay, and with that in mind, I move that money into the savings account. Okay, that way it can be dealt with properly. Now, I'm thinking, since I got on that idea, I'm thinking what we'll do is on Tuesday, we're going to take a look at the booklet I wrote, Believe in Yourself. And we're going to walk through it. Now, of course, the thing there, I don't know if this will help sales or if it will hinder them, but I'm going to walk through it with you because it's what I did to get myself sorted around. Okay. And the thing with your credit, with paying your loans, again, if you've got an interest-free loan again right now, absolutely take a look at the fine print. If you don't know where the fine print is, if you don't know where the contract is now, contact the people you've got the loan with. Find out how much the balance is and when the interest free is over. Make absolutely certain that amount of the loan is paid penny for penny by the end of the interest free zone. Because from everybody I've talked to, if it is not, they will add the interest from the entire loan to the back end. And all of a sudden, you're thinking, I've only got $400 left. I've been paying this. I got $400 left to pay the loan off. Day one, after that interest-free period ends, they will turn around in all likelihood and tack all of the interest from the last 6 years or whatever it was onto your account. And all of a sudden, you're back in over your head. This is why I'm saying don't wait until next week. I'd say check tonight, but I'd lay odds your loan company or the bank or the credit card, whatever you got that loan with, I'd lay odds they're closed right now. Okay. Now, one of the important factors that we have to take a look at here is that no matter how you look at things, the reality of this, the reality of your life is this. When you take a look at what you owe, you're the one that agreed to get into the debt. Blaming other people for it does not make the debt go away. Okay. And I will tell you, most of these companies, if you talk to them directly and acknowledge what you've done, okay, acknowledge the fact, yes, I owe this debt. I'm intending on paying it, but I've got a problem with the interest. Okay, the interest you're adding to it, yes, it was legal. I understand that. Unfortunately, it's killing me and I'm not going to be able to do it. Now, I was lucky with the credit card company I had that problem with because they looked at it and went, okay, no problem. We're going to work this out and go, okay, you pay this minimum and we will stop charging interest for that 6-month period. That, yes. I mean, you can look at it from the greedy side and say, well, of course, you owe them $15,000. They don't want to give up the $15,000. So they give up a few $100s in interest and they get all the rest of the money back. Okay, from their standpoint, it makes sense. If they hadn't done that, yeah, I'd have folded on it. Okay, because I've made mistakes in my past. One of the biggest ones was not paying attention to my own finances and the future. The savings, when I talk about putting savings away, this is not just because of the fact I'm saying, hey, it's a good idea. I'm telling you, if I'd have done it, I wouldn't be struggling today. And I'm hoping that this is going to help at least some of you avoid that complication before it becomes a bigger one. Okay, so again, absolutely build your savings account, but that means make sure there's more in your savings account at the end, in your bank account at the beginning of each month than there was at the beginning of the last one. Okay, make certain it's there. Or at the end of the month. The reality is you've got to make certain that you're the one doing the work. Okay, that you're the one on top of the ball. Now, with that in mind, we are going to continue this stream with the idea of helping you get your finances back on track. Okay, and yeah, just dawned on me, I'm starting to clock things ahead of time. Okay, what my goal is simple. I made a lot of mistakes over the years, an awful lot of them. And I'm simply striving to turn the lights on so you don't have to go through the same ones. This is very important from my standpoint. And this is why I tell you that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. This is just one of those things that works. Now, with this in mind, we're just getting down to the tail end. So I do want to say, people, thank you so very much for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. Again, the savings build them. Make sure your bank account has more money at the end of this month than it did at the end of last month. And again, all these tips, you can go back over this video and watch it over, and you can repeat it again. That said, I will be back again tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow 8 p.m. Pacific. I do hope to see all of you there at that point. But until then, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.